Chapter 5 of the Red Fairy Book. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Darla Ely. The Red Fairy Book by Andrew Lang. Chapter 5. The Black Thief and Knight of the Glen. In times of yore there was a king and a queen in the south of Ireland, who had 3 sons, all beautiful children. But the queen, their mother, sickened unto death, and they were yet very young, which caused great grief throughout the court, particularly to the king, her husband, who could in no wise be comforted. Seeing that death was drawing near her, she called the king to her, and spoke as follows: "I am now going to leave you, and as you are young and in your prime, of course after my death you will marry again. Now all the request I ask of you is that you will build a tower in an island in the sea, wherein you will keep your 3 sons until they are come of age and fit to do for themselves, so that they may not be under the power or jurisdiction of any other woman. Neglect not to give them education suitable to their birth, and let them be trained up to every exercise of pastime requisite for king's sons to learn. This is all I have to say, so farewell." The king had scarce time, with tears in his eyes, to assure her she should be obeyed in everything, when she, turning herself in her bed, with a smile gave up the ghost. Never was greater mourning seen than was throughout the court in the whole kingdom, for a better woman than the queen, to rich and poor, was not to be found in the world. She was interred with great pomp and magnificence, and the king, her husband, became in a manner inconsolable for the loss of her. However, he caused the tower to be built, and his sons placed in it, under proper guardians according to his promise. In process of time the lords and knights of the kingdom counselled the king, as he was young, to live no longer as he had done, but to take a wife, which counsel prevailing, they chose him a rich and beautiful princess to be his consort, a neighboring king's daughter, of whom he was very fond. Not long after, the queen had a fine son, which caused great feasting and rejoicing at the court, insomuch that the late queen, in a manner, was entirely forgotten. That fared well, and king and queen lived happy together for several years. At length the queen, having some business with the hen wife, went herself to her, and after a long conference past, was taking leave of her, when the hen wife prayed that if ever she should come back to her again she might break her neck. The queen, greatly incensed at such a daring insult from one of her meanest subjects, demanded immediately the reason, or she would have her put to death. "It was worth your while, madam," says the hen wife, "to pay me well for it, for the reason I prayed so on you concerns you much." "What must I pay you?" asked the queen. "You must give me," says she, "the full of a pack of wool, and I have an ancient crock which you must fill with butter, likewise a barrel which you must fill for me full of wheat." "How much wool will it take to the pack?" says the queen. "It will take 7 herds of sheep," said she, "and their increase for 7 years." "How much butter will it take to fill your crock?" 7 dairies," said she, "and their increase for 7 years." "And how much will it take to fill the barrel you have?" says the queen. "It will take the increase of 7 barrels of wheat for 7 years." "That is a great quantity," says the queen, "but the reason must be extraordinary, and before I want it, I will give you all you demand." "Well," says the hen wife, "it is because you are so stupid that you don't observe or find out those affairs that are so dangerous and hurtful to yourself and your child." "What is that?" says the queen. "Why," says she, "the king your husband has 3 fine sons he had by the late queen, whom he keeps shut up in a tower until they come of age, intending to divide the kingdom between them, and let your son push his fortune. Now, if you don't find some means of destroying them, your child and perhaps yourself will be left desolate in the end." "And what would you advise me to do?" said she. "I am wholly at a loss in what manner to act in this affair." "You must make known to the King," says the hen wife, "that you heard of his sons, and wonder greatly that he concealed them all this time from you. Tell him you wish to see them, and that it is full time for them to be liberated, and that you would be desirous he would bring them to court. The King will then do so, and there will be a great feast prepared on that account, and also diversions of every sort to amuse the people. And in these sports," said she, "ask the King's son to play a game at cards with you, which they will not refuse. Now," says the hen wife, "you must make a bargain, that if you win they must do whatever you command them, and if they win, that you must do whatever they command you to do. This bargain must be made before the assembly, and here is a pack of cards," says she, "that I am thinking you will not lose by." The Queen immediately took the cards, and after returning the hen wife thanks for her kind instruction, went back to the palace, where she was quite uneasy until she got speaking to the King in regard of his children. At last she broke it off to him in a very polite and engaging manner, so that he could see no muster or design in it. He readily consented to her desire, and his sons were sent for to the Tower, who gladly came to court, rejoicing that they were freed from such confinement. They were all very handsome, and very expert in all arts and exercises, so that they gained the love and esteem of all that had seen them. The Queen, more jealous with them than ever, thought it an age until all the feasting and rejoicing was over, that she might get making her proposal, depending greatly on the power of her hen wife's cards. At length this royal assembly began to sport and play at all kinds of diversions, and the Queen very cunningly challenged the three princes to play at cards with her, making bargain with them as she had been instructed. They accepted the challenge, and the eldest son and she played the first game, which she won. Then the second son played, and she won the game likewise. The third son and she then played the last game, and he won it, which sorely grieved her that she had not him in her power as well as the rest, being by far the handsomest and most beloved of the three. However, every one was anxious to hear the Queen's commands in regard to the two princes, not thinking that she had any ill design in her head against them. Whether it was the hen wife instructed her, or whether it was from her own knowledge, I cannot tell, but she gave out they must go and bring her the Knight of the Glen's wild steed of bells, or they should lose their heads. The young princes were not in the least concerned, not knowing what they had to do, but the whole court was amazed at her demand, knowing very well that it was impossible for them ever to get the steed, as all that ever sought him perished in the attempt. However, they could not retract the bargain, and the youngest prince was desired to tell what demand he had on the Queen, as he had won his game. "My brothers," says he, "are now going to travel, and, as I understand, a perilous journey wherein they know not what road to take or what may happen them. I am resolved, therefore, not to stay here, but to go with them, let what will betide. And I request and command according to my bargain that the Queen shall stand on the highest tower of the palace until we come back, or find out that we are certainly dead, with nothing but sheaf corn for her food, and cold water for her drink, if it should be for 7 years and longer." All things being now fixed, the three princes departed the court in search of the Knight of the Glen's palace, and travelling along the road they came up with a man who was a little lame, and seemed to be somewhat advanced in years. They soon fell into discourse, and the youngest of the princes asked the stranger his name, or what was the reason he wore so remarkable a black cap as he saw on him. "I am called," said he, "the Thief of Sloan, and sometimes the Black Thief from my cap." And so telling the prince the most of his adventures, he asked him again where they were bound for, or what they were about. The prince, willing to gratify his request, told him their affairs from the beginning to the end. "And now," said he, "we are travelling and do not know whether we are